Hi, hello, and, wow, that's a big number. Though, we're finally here, the 1K Q&A from the Q4A video, quite a while after. Though, let's not delay any longer, shall we? Actually, no, one bit of delay. Thank you all. Now on to some comments. Oh man, we've got a list of questions here. What is your real name? Will you ever play games like Baldur's Gate 3 on this channel? Will you ever livestream real D&D game? What was your first D&D character? What is your favorite class? Do you have a mini collection? If so, can you show them? What are you going to do after the series? Will you focus more on D&D content in the future? My name actually is Zach. Maybe not this channel? If a position is offered and someone else is handling all the back end of it, because with this right now and other things, no. But hey, if for some reason someone was willing to do or had all the back end down and I was invited for something, yeah. I think his name was Chaz. It was Alchemist Blood Hunter. I do have a collection. No, most of them aren't painted, and for a lot of the games I actually use bottle caps, but should be handling through some of the photos. There's also Warhammer minis in there, or figures. Models? Just the models? Is that what they're called? I'm going to be making the things I do make outside of just Spell a Day. Though probably still touching on D&D here and there, or tabletop games in general, formatted similar to the system neutral stuff, or just talking about concepts in general when it comes to stuff like that. But I'd also like to continue and make, especially if I have more time for it, a lot more of the other video projects, the stuff that's a little more resource and time intensive. But things like the Lancer video, covering some of the different games that I have done, various, not really review, not really explaining it. I'd really like to talk about lore and some things, and also selling people and talking about stuff I like. I mean, that's what this channel's revolved around, is talking about games, tabletop, board, video, and otherwise, and other things. But we'll keep talking about that. I'd like to keep bringing it up, as in it's still a very big part of the things I like to do. I have half a shelf on a bookshelf right in front of me just filled with books. I have the minis that you had seen maybe close-ups of and more there. And I have been running various tabletop games for quite a few years. A good old chunk of my life. A solid chunk. So yes, I'd probably still bring up tabletop stuff and D&D stuff and referencing into those types of realms. By the way, when it comes to not reading the text around the questions, that's just to speed up the video, because the original rendition of this went on for a while. But in short, I have seen them all. Thank you all. Sincerely, those mean so much. Anyway, back onto the questions. If you could collab with any YouTuber, D&D or otherwise, who would it be and what would you do? God, I don't know. I don't know, you know? Well, I don't, but you might. Silly thing. I don't really know how collaborations would work. I have YouTubers I appreciate, look up to, and stuff that I watch their content on, but I don't know what joint projects could be done, or would be worked with. Now I am thinking of some things. Originally, when I was starting Spell a Day, one of the ideas I had was due to its format, it'd be easy to slot someone in to just give their description or opinion on the spell as well. That hasn't really happened outside of one video with Dispel Magic. Thank you, Garrist, by the way. I realized the format of Spell a Day isn't actually equated as well to that concept as I originally thought, so I've just decided to keep it myself, mostly for those videos. When it comes to other things, I don't know. Honestly, I might not take it, but I'd be up for suggestions. From the spells you've rated, are there any you've rated low but would still take regardless? If you're playing a bard, what spells are on the front of your mind for magical secrets? That heavily depends the character, because I pick based on the character. Yes, there's some functionality that goes involved in that decision, but I really go for thematics on spells. I'll kneecap myself. One of the big things, I guess, is the spells I don't pick up. I try to not pick up Fireball. But if I'm playing a fire mage or someone who's just obviously going to be doing big blasting moves with magic, I'm going to pick up Fireball then, like a fire evocationist. But if I'm playing some kind of other spellcaster, I'm going to try and slot something out for Fireball or just not be focused around a big blasty spellcaster. Like, if I'm playing a Necromancer, I'm going to invest heavily into the undead aspect of it and to the necrotic damage, since I'm not going to be going into evocation that much. And this goes for any... I really like playing wizards, by the way. I feel like that spell's gonna... or that type of question's gonna come up, but... Draconic Sorcerer, pick up any spells that can be flavored dragon-wise, you know, Dragon Breath. Pick what I think works. Or if you're playing a Cleric, if you're a healing domain Cleric, I will pick spells, even if they're not directly included in the domain, stuff that still revolves around the role of that Cleric. Pick up themed spells is the short answer. Though if we are talking functionality and on Bard, Counterspell. Counterspell's a solid bet. What's your favorite character build? What's your favorite monster? Cats or dogs? A wild magic sorcerer with spells that are built around just whatever you can get. Like, anything that requires rolling, so you can attempt to trigger Wild Magic Surge as often as possible, based off a specific ruling in the subclass. I know that's not too much of a build, that's just some spell choices to trigger one of the archetype features, but I have a blast. Oh god, is this a single monster or monster category? Because if it's a single monster, then I've got to think. Like, also, are we talking about thematics? Are we talking about just combat ability? Goblin. It's gotta come down to Goblin. My players know why. Any thoughts on making videos for other tabletop RPGs or just sticking to the D&D primarily? I do actually want to talk about other tabletop RPGs and other just board games and other video games. But, whoa man, one of them I've been itching to talk about more of was Lancer. Because I have been reading into further books, there's other supplements to it, and some that are third party, some that are first party, and they're all... It's so great. It's just a bit different, and it's mech combat, and I'm a Titanfall fan. Sure, Apex exists, but I want big mech. And Lancer gives me big mech. Planning on doing a subclass review. That little bit at the start of the video with Screen, is that outtakes? Spells for your villains to use against the PCs. Top 10 world building spells. I mean, I might do a subclass review. Though it wouldn't really be a review. I mean, it might be a review, but it'd go along the lines of the component fashion. Oh no, that's not out yet. Yes, those are outtakes. Those are either in-between segments that just get cut, or an entire run of something that goes wrong. But yeah, I usually put the outtakes at the start. Sometimes I've decided to do other things, like on the April 1st Spell-A-Day. Anything enchantment. I mean, really anything enchantment-based. Just God, that's such a visceral way of getting the player directly. Yes, there's big damage, there's knocking someone out. When it comes to necromancy, I think there's a lot more necromancy effects from monsters that are better than just the spells on players. And I can't pick a specific one enchantment-wise, because the main concept of it is you're taking power away from the player themselves, which really hurts. That's a way of getting at the player themselves and really invest them into, holy shit, I hate this villain. Now, you can definitely pull it too far, but I've had some really tense moments where, again, some villain using enchantment creatively, or when a player is isolated. Oh, when a player is isolated. Nasty stuff. I mean, don't do the thing where you're just like, oh, you got the player, but using them in a twisted sense, purposely getting them to do something bad, break into a place, get caught doing something, and they were under control. It's the whole thing. Okay, for this one, I'd have to take some time to step outside of it and then make a top 10, and I haven't gone through the list. Like, through this series, I have admitted in some videos that I did not even remember a spell was either in this book or just remember the spell in general. So I don't think I'd be able to say top 10 world-building spells yet, nor would I have the time in this recording session to compile said list. But in general, every spell is a world-building spell. And that goes for classes as well, and monsters. Everything has an impact on one another, none of that's in a vacuum. Really, the best advice I could give on this one is just seeing how everything interacts with each other. Because the big thing that kind of breaks some immersion-wise is how come some things in a setting act entirely like a standard fantasy, not standard fantasy, standard medieval. And then you have Fabricate. I guess Fabricate's on that list. To celebrate 1K, could you do a Q&A? I think that would be fun. Once you finally get to 365, what do you plan to do next? Would you ever continue this series with another source book? So even though I answered what I do after 365, which is namely focus a bit more resources on some of the other videos I've done, again, you know, shameless plugging, But I have thought about it, briefly doing something with another source book by going through the spells again. Oh god. I'm not sure if anything to as long term. Again, nothing has as many base spells in 5e as to just the player's handbook, so it wouldn't be as long of a commitment, but it would still be quite the commitment, so I would definitely wait. I would definitely wait before heading to another source book, if I did. You have done some Warhammer content. Can we expect more of that in the future? If so, would that content be focused on the game itself or the universe or both? I also really love the Frostpunk video if you are planning on translating more things into D&D, whether it be from books, games, or films. Lastly, I would like to know more about the way you play D&D. Do you have special homebrew or house rules that you use? Yes, you should be able to expect some content like that around in the future. Again, that kind of goes under the category of some of these other things, but is also a big part of... While the physical hobby side of things I haven't gotten into, I have been in the lore side of it for a long time, and have been recently getting into the actual game itself. And especially with 10th coming up, I'm planning on getting in on the ground floor of 10th. But in short, you should be able to see more Warhammer content. Yes, I'm so happy you liked the Frostpunk video. By the way, again, shameless plug. I mean, hey, it's Q&A for my own channel. But when it comes to the Frostpunk videos, that's a styling I kind of want to do with a lot of the other things I described when I talk about games, or namely video games, movies, other formats, or other media. Like I have plans and stuff written down, and how to put it. There's a lot of projects in the background, just covering this now. Spell a Day takes priority because it's daily, and then everything else is kind of on a organized backlog to an extent. But essentially having one video that is covering the game itself or some concept about it, and then a second video that's applying it to tabletop games, tabletop RPGs, D&D, and some kind of translation into it. Like I said, sticking to D&D in a sense, or tabletop in a sense. So when it comes to homebrew or house rules, put it this way, I have enough stuff that I want to publish my own source books. Or supplement books. With the new edition coming out and the things that had happened with Wizards of the Coast, oh man. I still want to get that all published, and I want to make it that way. And again, I've been at this for years, and I can't stop myself from writing my own stuff into it. But I guess some of the things of the way we play, some stuff from the base book is just a modified version of gritty realism, so instead of one entire week counting as a long rest, it's just the 7th rest. So short rest, short rest, short rest. Then the last one counts as a long rest. Specifically, that short rest is also now the 8-hour one as well. It's still fast compared to the base gritty realism, but is also slower than the base game. Still dabbling with that one. Another one is probably a list of complications, so a negative, think of it as a feat, except you can pick it up at any time. It's a negative with a positive. It's namely just to try and flip something on a character's head, so you now have a negative to try and look out for, alongside a positive, instead of just a straight stat bonus or a straight stat decrease. Is there a particular game system or setting you'd love to make videos on and explore more of? Would they be in the style of Spell a Day, where it's a long-running series about one particular facet of the system, or would it be a longer, excitable lore dump style of video? Have you homebrewed any game systems or modules before, and would you be willing to explore those in videos? How tall is that door? Warhammer! Sigmar, Fantasy, Old World, or whatever that's being counted as in 40k. Though, not just that one in particular. I do want to cover essentially everything, which might sound silly. I want to talk about things. Things I'm interested in, things that I think other people can be interested in. I want to share the excitement I have for some of these things. In short, that's what determines what's picked. They probably wouldn't be in the style of Spell a Day, a daily thing. Again, unless it's some other spell thing, who knows. I have homebrewed / made some modules and games of my own. Plenty of homebrewed stuff for 5e. I've homebrewed some stuff for... Plenty of homebrewed stuff for 5e, and I've attempted to make and dabble in okay, what would it take to make it your own tabletop RPG system? But one of the big things is a board game I've been working on for a few years, and I think it's coming along. Another milestone. Please, Zach. When are we going to cover Zone of Truth? I just want to see my family again. What's your favorite class? Wizard. Would you play a Devil May Cry themed game where you get inspiration for using your attack action in overtopped ways? Players could even have one inspiration dice they can give to another player per session for a cool maneuver. Call it motivation. So I wouldn't use this in my normal games. It would probably be for a one-shot. But it sounds similar to the gods are mad optional rule, which is that there's no technical DM, or there's some points-based system where people can mix into the setting. I forget the exact details of it, but the idea of every player being able to slightly pitch in for some like over-exaggerated, crazy action-based game in session, it sounded like a lot of fun. Though, for me personally, I think that would be better in a one-shot or just in a few sessions. The way I run longer form campaigns and the types of settings and stuff I like, I don't think I'd go long form. What monster category is your favorite? So here's the issue. When it comes to monster category, it depends how you... Are we counting homebrew? Are we counting supplements? Or are we just counting the base monsters? Or not even just base monsters, but core monsters in the like official WOTC books? Because if we're talking about homebrewed stuff and third-party stuff, then man, like... That really expands the list. Monster category. Because it's also up to the way I prefer to write and run certain creatures. I guess demon. Demon can always get really weird. And you can make them seem even stranger or more horrific than what they already are. Hey Zach, when you wear the Ushanka, do you keep the beanie underneath it? I need to know. Thoughts on 1D&D? I'm gonna wait till it's all out. Thoughts on D&D and Minecraft doing a collaboration, and what do you think your IRL stats are? I didn't know they're doing a collaboration? Or is this a hypothetical they're doing a collaboration? Just double checked it, and wow, I don't know. I'd have to see it when it comes out, but potentially it has a lot to offer, because there's already plenty of Minecraft mods and maps and custom campaigns that have a set structure to it. So having official-ish D&D assets to fit in that space, you could really replicate some stuff from your games. But that's just something for people who want to use it. IRL stats. It's a hard thing to measure stats because there's not really too many real-world equivalents to compare. Yeah, you can just look at a commoner, but that doesn't... The scaling's entirely different. I don't know, I'd say strength 12. Oh my... Dex 12? No, Dex 11. Because now, okay, when it comes to the issue of stats, proficiency is never really taken into account on some of these general questions, because the base stat does not reflect the character. What truly reflects the character is what skills and their proficiency is stacked into what they've specialized in. Because, like, general intelligence, no. Like, religion, I wouldn't be too high in. But history, yeah, I could have a good amount in that. But intelligence overall, I don't know. Is YouTube a side project of yours, and if so, what do you do outside of this? Also, how do you have so much charisma? What eldritch deity did you make a contract with, and how would one go about making such a deal? For research purposes, of course. I wouldn't call YouTube a side project. I'd call it one of a few. Like, at this point, it's not, like, a main job. Though I have, like, daily videos definitely takes a bit. And if it turns out this way, I'd love to do this full-time, and the speed at which this channel's growing, and we've reached 1,000 as well, and beyond at this point. As, it's... Yeah, I mean, I work on other things. I've mentioned briefly that there's supplements I'd like to make. There's also a board game I'm working on, and other stuff YouTube projects-wise, and Spell a Day is not the end of it. But seeing this reach 1,000 the way it has, while I can't truly replicate it now, back at the moment we did reach that and all the news and YouTube partnership stuff, it really changed how I looked at this. And it just made a lot of those potential ideas of potentially doing this or being able to be supported by this a possibility. And thank you for that. Any homebrew you've used to make spellcasting more fun, interesting, versatile? Not necessarily spellcasting itself, but a lot of things with spellcasters I've changed and magic items I've changed. I'm looking to try and test some things with spellcasting itself, but nothing's come up yet. Favorite class/subclass in D&D 5e? Wild Magic Sorcerer. How are you holding up after doing half of 365 spells? I'm feeling interesting, I guess is a word for it. It's a lot. It's a lot. But part of this is also to set a goal and reach it. So I'm actually reinvigorated that we've got over halfway. Has it dawned on you exactly how monumental a task you have set before you? You're doing great so far. Why did you skip one? Ever stop to think every one of these spells is a bard spell in the end? Should Lehman's Tiny Hut be renamed to Lehman's Umberhulk Feeder? Stop looking, you didn't skip one, keep up the good work. Yes and no, as in I knew the task was going to be big to an extent of the videos themselves, but what I didn't expect was the part of that task is also the channel and the community under it and the building of that and what to do with all that, and verification, partnership. That's the part I didn't fully anticipate. When it came to the skipped one, I mean, you've already seen my reply to that comment. You had me going for a moment. Yes, actually, I have thought about that. Almost all of these can be virtually a bard spell in the end. Well, not all of them, but you know what I mean. Hey, bards are powerful. You just gotta think of the right spells. I'd say Umberhulk Serving Bowl. Upside down, maybe. I need those custom spells anytime soon. We're getting there. I didn't want to front load them into the spell a day, but I mean, hey, that number's ticking down, and they're not all at the end. Curse of the Vile Blood, available to Cleric, Druid, or Sorcerer, 2nd level transmutation, cast time of 1 action, range of 30 feet, components for both somatic material, a vial of acid. Duration, concentration, up to 1 minute. Choose any number of creatures within range. The targets must make a Constitution saving throw. On a failure, whenever they are healed during the duration of the spell, they take half the amount healed in D4 acid damage. If a target succeeds on the initial saving throw, they are unaffected by the spell. There you go. What do you rate that spell in the comments? Any thoughts on it? Honestly, these all go into the final video. Why did you decide to start YouTube with such a format? I didn't. The Spell-A-Day was not the first format. Or are you talking about the general channel's format of the talking and this kind of presentation style, I guess? Well, when it comes to the format, that's based off what I want to do. In a sense. Wow, that's very simple of it. I want to make, well, discussion videos. Not necessarily video essays, not necessarily diegetic podcasts. I never found it, and I tried to do something scripted early on, and that's not me, and that's not the tone I want to bring. While I do enjoy some of those, and those ones are very well done, I'm not the kind of person to set up an hour video essay myself. I mean, I might, but that'll just be me talking to you. Because that's what it is, I'm talking with you. Now it might seem, oh yeah, the parasocial relation and such, but think of this more as like a voicemail. That's how I want it to feel, is that, oh, I'm hearing from Zach again. And I always cannot wait to hear back from you guys in the comments. The stuff in the comments, both your opinions on the spells themselves, some of my own discussions on them, questions about what had gone on in campaigns, people talking about details of their campaigns, stuff they've used from my videos, stuff they just brought up relating to them. It's all fantastic. Though, when it comes to, I guess, why I started Spell-A-Day to begin with, which a lot of people have been asking about Spell-A-Day, or what happens after it, or what other content have I done, or again, the formatting which started this segment. Look, when it comes to Spell-A-Day, it is not the most efficient thing, if we're talking analytics, but I don't want to do that, but I want to do Spell-A-Day. I want to talk. I want to have a discussion. 5e is something that it's been a part of my life for years, and I've DM'd it for years, and I've had to look over these rules for years. And that's a big part of stuff I want to talk about, but that also goes for other games and topics. The first video on this channel is a Starfield video. Not anything actually on the game itself. Well, I mean, yes, on the game itself, but just a preview trailer we got and talking about some of the expectations related to it. And it's not the best. Again, the first video on this channel, but I wanted to have a discussion. I wanted to talk about Starfield. I wanted to talk about Bethesda. I wanted to talk about the brief relation I have with Fallout 4 and where I think they went wrong, because oh my god, could I rant about that. But anyway, right, back to the subjects. Wanted to talk about it. A lot of the videos and stuff that I had watched previously, namely, and some of the stuff, and you might even see some kind of similarities to it in the Lancer video, but Bricky, his videos talking about games or concepts in games, and the CBT Halo video, alongside other video essay channels, on top of just goofier sketches to an extent. And it also came down to the thing that actually prompted me to go and make that. An Up Is Not Jump video comes back on my feed, one talking about how he makes his videos, and what you should do, or not what you should do, but just the process of it. And because I wanted to talk about Starfield, I wanted to just talk about things, and I didn't know what other format or way to talk about it, I made the Starfield video. Then after that, I was getting really into Ultra Kill, so I made an Ultra Kill video, and so on to an extent. I mean, I experiment with format here or there, and then we get to Spell a Day. So, this one was looking for something to talk about. Something that I could just go through and test a lot with, because I did also still want to have that discussion and have those discussions be better. You know, more entertaining to watch, get points across further, people actually responding in the comments, and my thoughts a bit more put together without a script, because I tried to script the last two and I realized I'm not for that. I'm looking through spells, I'm like, oh, I can just talk through things in 5e. That's something I'm a big fan of. I already have thoughts on a lot of these things. What's a good, like, easy topic to just set up in some kind of, like, series? Looking at the spells, checking for how large that would be, and then seeing 362. I then thought, alright, that's only 3 more. And then you have a year. Still thought it was a bit crazy, thinking of ways to bundle it up, potentially just covering some of the spells that aren't talked about that often, because I felt there should be discussions on those. Because I've been on YouTube before, and while yes, a lot of general popular channels covering D&D content hit a lot of the big spells, stuff that you already either know or has a high SEO anyway. But there's people who are trying to find some obscure spell that hasn't been heard of before. Well, not necessarily not heard of before, but something for their character, looking into a build and wanting some kind of opinion on it. So I thought I'd seek to cover them all. It wasn't going to be a day. That would come after a Doug video.
That is 52 attempts at greatness. The vast majority of people, and this is so important, the vast majority of people are going to quit. Even if you're watching this video right now and you're feeling fucking inspired, and you're like, oh my God, this is it. Like, I'm going to do the thing and I'm going to grind it out. I'm going to do this every week. Vast majority of people quit. This is the hard thing. You can't quit. You got to keep going.
The X. Now, he was saying to do weekly. And I thought, okay, it's 365. I don't want that to be stretched out however long that would be if it was once a week. Nor do I think it is worth doing that once a week per just one spell. Could I feasibly do it daily? Because it's 365, or close enough to it. So I gave it a shot. I tried to film in bulk, I tried to edit, I tried to make a general format for it, and it's definitely changed over time. I mean, you go back to the start of the playlist and you're... Whew. But that's one thing I'm thankful for, is it's practice. Well, not necessarily practice, I mean, every experience is practice in a certain sense. So every new video is something new, and even if it's not changing the general format too much, it's seeing, okay, what can I highlight here? How fast can I edit? Is my scheduling gonna get any better? That's really been put to the test. And I'm not going to stop it, because of what I brought up as a while back as well, is that this is a goal. This is a task I set myself, and I'm going to finish it. Because that's also what it is. It's setting out a task, even if it seems immense, and getting it done. And it's not the bow wrap on the channel. The channel is not Spell a Day. It's definitely a lot of it. But that's not what the channel is entirely. In fact, the channel's more. The channel's a lot more. The channel's a lot more than just a collection of spell videos of someone talking about them. The channel is a collection of people who are passionate about the spells in D&D, who are passionate about brief topics on video games, who want to talk, who want to hear, who want to discuss. It's you guys. That is the... even out of all the experience... I think I might have brought it up with some of the other questions, but even out of the experience of just making these videos, keeping up with his schedule, the channel and how it's gotten here and where it's going and how it's going, and all of you are something I never thought about? Or I didn't think of, or it is the biggest part of this. It's not that I guess I didn't expect, or I didn't understand. It is such a crazy feeling. To again see this number, which thank you. I'm happy. I know that's not too much, but all of you, the every day a video goes up. Countless hours behind the scenes as well, in the recording, editing, scheduling around it, looking through the comments, checking the channel, debating posts, scripts, and plans and recordings that either just don't go anywhere or are being under works but slowly in the background, and other projects like how much this has become a part of my life. I just didn't expect it, and thank you. You're sorry. Thank you. Words are failing me now. This is a possibility. This is something here. We have something here. And I didn't expect to have this. This wasn't an expectation. This wasn't like on a checklist somewhere, some kind of quota and a job to meet. This happened. Thanks to you. And I want to make better things. I want to experiment. I want to do more. I want to talk to more people. I want to do a lot of things, and you've allowed that. Again, I don't know how many times I can say it, but thank you all. Thank you. Thank you for 1K. Thank you for 1,000. And thank you for the number that's already been added to it. And thank you for all the more to come. I welcome and thank you. And when it comes to this channel, I want to make more. I want to make better. And you subscribing here, you watching here, you commenting here, liking the videos, you just being here makes that happen, makes that a possibility. And I thank you. See you in the next video.